What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got another swatch review for you. So today we are talking about the ILNP Courtyard collection. This is their first spring 2022 collection. Usually they will do 2 collections per season, and this first one has 6 brand new nail polishes in it. But just to take a step back, if you haven't heard of ILNP before, they are an independent nail polish brand that is based out of the US. They are 7 free, meaning they are free of 7 of the potentially harmful ingredients that are often found in nail polish, and they are cruelty free, meaning they do not test their products on animals. They also have a statement on their website saying they do make a conscious effort to not use any animal derived ingredients, but they aren't specifically labeled as vegan. So yeah, this is actually a pretty interesting collection. I have a few thoughts on them. I'm going to share them after the swatches. So first, let me show you the polishes, then we'll talk about my thoughts, the pricing, availability, all that good stuff. So roll the footage. So as with all of my swatch and review videos, I am going to be using base coat underneath all of my swatches just to protect my natural nail and prevent any stains. Today I am using the Cuccio base coat. So starting off with the shade Harmony, and this one is a dusty rose crelly finish, so kind of sitting somewhere between being a cream and a jelly, and then it has this super subtle silver hollow shimmer running throughout. Honestly, that holographic shimmer is so subtle. It really does look like a silver shimmer, and it's very faint on the nail, so I know it's a little bit hard to see on camera. I think it's one of those shimmers that really just pops when you're in the sunlight, and other than that, it seems like it's mostly a cream finish. So this one was full opacity in 2 coats, which I thought was actually pretty impressive considering it has that crelly-like formula, but I really enjoyed it. Very nice, very self-leveling and smooth. Next up, we have the shade Penelope, and I love this color. It's this really beautiful peachy blush cream kind of color, and it has these irregular golden flecks running throughout. So again, we have that sort of crelly-like formula here, and it just works so perfectly with these little flakes in there. It looks like a little gold dusting across the nails, and it gives it such a unique and pretty texture. I think this is just such a beautiful any time of year shade, very office appropriate, but also just the perfect wedding color in my opinion. So again, 2 coats, pretty impressed with this one as well, and a little surprised that it was a 2-coater. Moving on, we have the shade Sundress, and this one is a super pale pastel yellow that has a metallic blue irregular flake running throughout, and you can see this one's actually a little bit different from the Penelope shade because this one is a little bit more saturated in terms of how much of that flaky is in the polish, and it's actually a little bit more opaque of that cream base. So it ended up being a little bit more full coverage. It didn't show that visible nail line, but even though it is a little bit more full coverage, I still needed a 3rd coat just to cover up any patchiness and get that full yellow color showing up on the nail. That's not something that surprises me. I always say this, but yellow polishes in general tend to be the most sheer on me, even more sheer usually than white nail polish. So totally fine with this one being a 3-coater. I like the amount of flaky that's in here, and if you've watched my previous reviews on their spring collections, you probably know that I really love polishes with this type of finish. It's just so pretty to me. Next up, we have the shade Morning Dew, and this one, I don't exactly know how to describe this shade. I feel like on camera, it looks a little bit more yellow, and also on me, it definitely showed up a little bit more yellow, but I think in person and in the bottle, it looks a little bit more greenish. So it's almost like, I want to say like a mustard green, if that makes any sense. There's definitely a chartreusey kind of vibe going on, and then it's absolutely packed with these holographic flakies, and you can see there's definitely a lot going on the nail, and I really love the amount of holo that's in here because it does catch the light really nicely, even though it's these little tiny delicate flakes. And again, 2 coats for full coverage, but it did have that jelly-like formula, so you could see a little bit of that visible nail line through, but I think that's a pretty classy look, especially in the spring. Although that being said, not a huge fan of this color on me personally. Next up, we have the shade Pebble Path, and this is a very intense metallic shade. It's actually a full coverage metallic flake that also has a holographic sparkle running throughout. So again, definitely a lot going on in this one. I would say it's a little bit more cool leaning rather than that sort of yellowy orangey gold that we sometimes see. This one's definitely a little bit more muted, but of course we have that really intense holo sparkle running throughout as well. So definitely a lot to pack onto the nails. It was 2-coat full coverage, but I feel like you could also possibly sponge this this one on. Might be fun to experiment with doing a glitter gradient. And last but not least, we have the shade Good Mornings, and this one's a really beautiful, deep turquoise teal jelly that has these holographic and maybe also blue metallic flakies running throughout. Again, a really nice saturation of flakies in there. It's super nice. The first coat was incredibly sheer. The second coat gave me almost full coverage, but I feel like it wasn't quite there. I think I could get away with wearing it in 2 coats, but I just wanted to get that full, bright, vibrant color and a lot of those flakies on the nail. So I ended up doing a 3rd coat. I think it looked really beautiful in 3 coats. I feel like we've been seeing a few of these really intense blues for spring, and personally I think of them more as summery shades, but I think it's probably going to be a good transition from spring into summer. Just a really pretty color. Very intense, very holographic, very sparkly. So here are the polishes together, and overall I do enjoy this take on a spring color palette. As I've been mentioning over and over again, I don't really love the typical spring pastel shades, but I think when you add a little bit something extra into a polish, it makes it more exciting for me. And personally, I love that ILNP does those little flakies. I think they just add just a touch of elegance to the polish and makes them feel really fancy to me. So those are the polishes, and overall I did enjoy them. I think it's a good quality brand, and just in general I love how elegant ILNP is. I think there's something very special about the fact that they use little flecks instead of hex glitters, and for some reason that feels a little elevated to me, so I always appreciate that. I will say though, this is a brand that sometimes requires 3 coats, and I would say it's actually pretty common that they do. Normally I would not be a huge fan of that, but for some reason I think it does work for this brand. And I think the main reason for that is because the polishes are pretty thin and they also are very buildable. So like it doesn't feel like you're wearing 3 coats of polish on. But of course, if you prefer more opaque polishes, I would say generally this brand probably isn't for you, but there are a few polishes that they have that are 2 coaters. So I guess it's kind of just a trial and error thing, or, you know, when you watch reviews, see which ones are a little bit more opaque. But in terms of this collection specifically, it actually kind of weirdly reminded me of a previous collection of theirs, their Tropics collection that came out last summer. I feel like it had a very similar color story. This almost feels like a muted version of that color story, and it has similar finishes to it, whereas that one felt a lot more brighter and vibrant for summer. This kind of feels like the spring version of that, and honestly, I really love that. I always appreciate a callback to previous polishes. I'm not sure that this was intentional, but it does feel kind of similar in vibe, so I actually kind of enjoyed that. But yeah, overall, I did enjoy this collection. I think that even though there were a lot of different finishes and colors in here, they seem to work really nicely together. It's not necessarily a collection that I would skittle and wear together as a full manicure, but all of the colors play off of each other really nicely. I think you could pair a couple of them up. They're also nice transitioning into each other. So these polishes are available on the ILNP website. They come in 12 milliliter bottles. They have a medium wide flat brush, and they also have a soft touch cap, which I really appreciate because it makes opening the polish very easy. And on their website, the polishes retail for $10 USD each. So I will link that down in the description if anybody is interested, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the collection. What do you think of these polishes? Did you get the same similar vibe from last year's summer collection as I did, or is that just me? What do you think of the different finishes? Which color is your favorite? Which is your least favorite? Tell me all of it. We can chat in the comments. If you enjoy my swatch and review videos, please give this one a thumbs up. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. I put out new videos every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. Huge shout out to my Cosmic Admirals on Patreon, Amanda M, Rocket Man's daughter, and Paula. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye. Today's fun fact question comes from Patreon supporter Caroline, and Caroline wants to know, what is a skill you don't have but always wished you could learn? Oh man, I think I have a lot of things that I wish I knew how to do. I am not a very skilled person in general, but I think the biggest thing is music in general. I think I would love to be able to play the piano. I know a few songs, but I don't know actually like how to play, like I don't know the technical stuff about how to play the piano. Like I know Heart and Soul, because I'm pretty sure everybody knows how to play Heart and Soul on the piano. If you've ever touched a piano, piano, you probably have played heart and soul on the piano. But yeah, I would just love to be able to play the piano. I think that that's such an impressive skill to be able to master. And also, speaking of instruments, I think that the flute is the most beautiful instrument. I would absolutely love to be able to play the flute, and I know that that one is incredibly hard to do well. So, you know, a lot of respect to those of you who play the flute. But yeah, I just think in general, making music is something that absolutely blows my mind, and I think it's a very underrated skill. I don't think a lot of people think about what goes into making a song. Like, a song that you hear on the radio has so much going on in it, and that just blows my mind. Like, the ability to write out lyrics is one thing, and I think that's hard enough. But also being able to write a melody, and then also coming up with a melody for the song, for like the lyrics, that's different from the way that the instruments sound, and then also having multiple different instruments in there that layer with each other and sound good. I don't know, it absolutely blows my mind. I think that that's a very underappreciated skill, and we probably hear music every single day and don't think about how hard that must be for a musician to just come up with that. So that's just a super awesome skill. I wish that I had that skill. That it's very impressive to me. But yeah, I guess there's a lot of music related skills that I think you can have an aptitude for, but it definitely does take a lot of time and effort and dedication and discipline to be able to play instruments, to be able to make music. It's very impressive. I know I keep saying that, but can't emphasize it enough. It's very impressive. I was gonna say, if you have a skill that you wish you knew how to do, leave it in the comments, but I'm actually curious. Let's twist this a little bit. What skill do you have? Those of you who watch these videos, I wanna know, what is your special skill? What is the skill that I should be jealous of that you have? Because we all have interesting sets of skills, and I'm curious what you have. So leave yours in the comments, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!